I blamed the market for 2 years. Bad timing, wrong setups, unlucky entries. Then my mentor asked me one question that ended my excuses. Are you impatient in other areas of your life? I laughed because of course I was. I interrupted people, rushed through tasks, hated waiting for anything. He said, and you wonder why you can't wait for your setup. That's when I realized trading wasn't my problem. I was. Most traders think they need a better strategy, a new indicator, the right broker. But after burning through dozens of strategies and still failing, I discovered something uncomfortable. Every trading mistake I made existed in my life first. Overtrading was just my inability to sit with boredom. Revenge trading was my refusal to be wrong. Holding losers too long was my pattern of clinging to sunk costs everywhere else. Yeah, trading is a mirror. It reflects exactly who you are, your discipline, your patience, your ego, everything, and most people hate what they see, so they look away and blame external factors. But here's what's possible. I spent 6 months fixing myself, not my strategy. And the strategy I'd used for 2 years suddenly worked. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the exact framework I use to identify your patterns, find them in your life, and fix your trading by fixing yourself first. Welcome to Trader's Bible, the quiet room for market mastery. Let's get into it. Here's what nobody tells you about trading. It's not teaching you anything new. It's showing you what's already there. When I couldn't wait for my setup, the market wasn't making me impatient. It was revealing I'd never learned patience anywhere in my life. When I revenge traded after a loss, the market wasn't triggering something new. It was exposing my lifelong inability to handle being wrong. This is the mirror principle, and it's brutal because most of us don't want to look. Think about your last bad trading day. You probably blamed something external. The market was choppy. The news moved against you. Your broker had lag. Your setup didn't work this time. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The market doesn't know you exist. It's not conspiring against you. It's completely indifferent to your stop loss, your account size, your emotions. The only thing that made that day go wrong was the person making the decisions. You. I kept a trading journal for 18 months before I understood what it was really for. Every entry looked the same. Took EUR/USD long at 1.0850, stop at 1.0830, I target 1.0920, lost $200. Market reversed right after entry. Bad luck. I had hundreds of these entries. Pages and pages of documentation about what the market did to me. Then one day, I wrote something different. Took Euro/USD long at 1.0850 because I was bored. Had been sitting for 2 hours with no trades. Setup was mediocre, but I convinced myself it was good enough. Really, I just needed stimulation. That entry changed everything because I stopped tracking what the market did and started tracking what I did. Your trading journal isn't supposed to be a record of price action. It's supposed to be a character study. When you took that trade too early, what were you feeling? When you moved your stop loss because the trade was going against you, what were you telling yourself? When you doubled your position size after 3 losses, what need were you trying to satisfy? These aren't trading questions. These are life questions. And until you answer them honestly, you'll keep making the same mistakes with different currency pairs. I see traders spend thousands of dollars on new strategies every year. They buy courses, join Discord groups, subscribe to signal services, backtest indicators until their eyes bleed. They're searching for the Holy Grail, the one setup that will finally make them consistent. And here's what's tragic about that search. Most strategies actually work. Not all of them, but most. A simple moving average crossover works. Support and resistance works. Price action works. The math is fine. The problem is the person executing the math. If you've been trading for more than a year and you're still not consistent, I need you to hear this clearly. You don't have a strategy problem. You have an execution problem. And execution isn't about your technical skills. It's about who you are as a person. Are you disciplined enough to wait for your setup even when you're bored? Are you humble enough to take a small loss even when your ego is screaming that you're right? Are you patient enough to sit through 3 losing trades without changing your entire approach? These aren't trading skills. These are character traits. The strategy hopping is a defense mechanism. I know because I did it for 2 years. Every time I failed with a strategy, I'd tell myself, it was the strategy's fault. This one doesn't work in ranging markets. This one's too slow. This one requires too much screen time. I had a reason for everything. But the real reason I kept switching was simpler and more painful. I couldn't face the possibility that I was the problem. Because if the strategy was broken, I could fix it by finding a new one. But if I was broken, I'd have to fix myself. And that's terrifying. Here's an experiment that will reveal everything you need to know about whether you have a strategy problem or a you problem. Stop all backtesting and strategy hunting for 30 days. Pick one simple strategy, it doesn't matter which one. Moving average crossover, RSI divergence, supply and demand zones, whatever. Make it simple enough that you can write the rules on a note card. Then execute it perfectly for 30 days. No deviations. No, this one time the setup looked better. So I adjusted. No emotional exits. No revenge sizing. Just pure mechanical execution. And most traders can't do this. They'll make it 3 days before they break a rule. They'll see a better setup and take it. They'll get bored and overtrade. They'll have one loss and double their size on the next trade. And when that happens, you'll have your answer. The failure isn't in the math. It's in your discipline. The strategy could work, but the person executing it isn't capable of following simple rules. That's not a strategy problem. That's a character problem. Now let me show you something that changed how I see every trading mistake. Every single problem you have in trading exists somewhere in your life first. This isn't a metaphor. It's a direct pipeline from your daily behavior to your chart behavior. You don't become a different person when you open your trading platform. You're the same person with the same patterns, and the same weaknesses, the same reflexes. And those patterns show up in your P&L. You overtrade. I guarantee you can't sit still in other areas of your life either. When you're in line at the grocery store, you're scrolling your phone. When you're watching a movie, you're checking social media. When you're sitting in silence, you fill it with podcasts or music or anything to avoid being alone with your thoughts. You need constant stimulation, and in trading, that need costs you money because you take setups that aren't there just to feel like you're doing something. You revenge trade. Look at how you handle being wrong outside of trading. When someone corrects you at work, do you get defensive? When you make a mistake, do you immediately justify it or do you own it? When life doesn't go your way, do you force things back in your direction or do you accept and adapt? If you can't handle being wrong in a conversation, you definitely can't handle being wrong in a trade. So you get your face ripped off and immediately jump back in to prove you were right. You're not trading. You're protecting your ego. You hold losers too long. I bet you stay in bad situations everywhere in your life. You keep working on projects that clearly aren't working because you've already invested time. You stay in relationships that are draining you because you've already invested years. You refuse to quit things even when quitting is objectively the smart move, because quitting feels like admitting defeat. So when a trade goes against you, you can't cut it. You hold it, hoping it'll turn around, moving your stop, adding to the position, doing anything except accepting the loss. Because accepting the loss means admitting you were wrong, and you don't know how to do that. If you're getting value from this, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Most traders will watch this video, nod along, and change nothing. Don't be most traders. The concepts we're covering are the actual difference between consistent profitability and another year of the same struggles. This is what I mean when I say trading is a mirror. It's not creating these problems. It's revealing them. You brought these patterns with you. They existed before you ever placed a trade. Trading just made them expensive. And here's the beautiful part that most people miss. You can't fix trading without fixing life. They're not separate. And the same person who can't wait in line without getting frustrated is the same person who can't wait for their setup. The same person who justifies every mistake at work is the same person who justifies holding a loser. The same person who needs to be right in every argument is the same person who revenge trades. So when I spent 6 months fixing my trading, I didn't spend it on the charts. I spent it fixing myself in life. When someone corrected me, I forced myself to say, "You're right, thank you," even when my ego was screaming. I practiced being wrong. I practiced admitting mistakes without defending them. I practiced letting go of the need to control every outcome. And something shifted. Not in my strategy. The strategy stayed the same. But in my execution. I could take a loss and move on without the urge to get revenge. And I could sit through boring days without forcing trades. I could follow my plan because I'd become a person capable of discipline. The pattern you fix in life automatically fixes in trading. Not because trading is different, but because you're different. If you cure your inability to sit with boredom by practicing meditation and silence, you cure overtrading. If you cure your need to always be right by practicing humility in conversations, you cure revenge trading. If you cure your attachment to sunk costs by walking away from dead projects, you cure holding losers. Same person, different results. But here's where most traders get stuck. They want the market to give them what they need. They're desperate for it. They check their account every 5 minutes. They take trades out of fear of missing moves. They size too big because they need this one to work, and the market smells that desperation and punishes it every single time. This is the same dynamic that exists everywhere in life. When you act desperate for something, it moves away from you. When you're centered and abundant, it comes to you. There's a concept I learned that changed everything. Power follows the blame finger. Wherever you point blame, that's where the power goes. If you blame the market for your losses, the market has all the power over your future. If you blame your broker for bad fills, your broker controls your success. If you blame news events for stopping you out, you're powerless against news. You've given away all your agency to external factors you can't control. but the moment you take full responsibility, even for things that seem like bad luck, you take the power back. Because if it's your fault, you can change it. If it's your decision, you can make a different one next time. This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about reclaiming control. Every losing trade, find the specific decision you made that contributed to the result. Maybe you entered before confirmation. Maybe you sized too big. Maybe you were emotional and shouldn't have been trading at all. There's always something you could have done differently. Find it. Own it. That's where your power is. I stopped using the word luck entirely, not because luck doesn't exist, but because it's powerless. Saying, "I got unlucky," means there's nothing I could have done. It means I'm a victim of randomness. But saying I made a poor decision on position sizing means I can size better next time. One keeps me stuck, yet one gives me agency. And in trading, agency is everything because the market will never care about your excuses. Now here's the part that sounds harsh, but it's true. Discipline is doing what you hate to do, but doing it like you love it. Most traders want trading to feel good. They want to be motivated and excited and passionate. But professional trading isn't like that most days. Most days it's boring. You sit and wait. You follow your plan even when you don't feel like it. You take your small loss and move on even though every part of you wants revenge. You do the work even when yesterday's work gave you zero reward. Motivation is unreliable. Some days I wake up excited to trade. Most days I don't. Most days I have to force myself to stick to the routine, to follow the plan, to do what needs to be done. That's not a trading problem. That's life. Nobody feels motivated every day, but the people who succeed show up anyway. They do the hard thing when it's hard. They embrace the grind. And this is where we separate people who make it from people who don't. Because trading will test you in ways that have nothing to do with charts. It'll test your ability to sit with boredom, your ability to handle failure repeatedly without breaking, your ability to make good decisions when you're tired, stressed, or emotional, your ability to do the right thing even when the right thing hurts. These aren't trading skills you can learn from a course. These are life skills you build through repetition. So here's what I did. I started building discipline muscles outside of trading. I woke up at the same time every day, no snooze, no exceptions. I finished one task completely before starting another. I kept small commitments to myself religiously. If I said I'd do something, I did it. No justifications. And I sought out failure intentionally. I'd try things I knew I'd fail at just to practice losing without it destroying my self-worth. Because if I couldn't handle failing at something meaningless, how could I handle a string of losing trades? All of this showed up in my trading, not immediately, but gradually. I could wait for setups because I'd practiced patience everywhere else. I could follow my plan because I'd built the discipline muscle. I could take losses without spiraling because I'd trained myself to fail and move on. The person sitting in front of the screen had changed. The strategy was the same, but the execution became flawless because the executor had become different. And this is what you need to understand if you want this to actually change for you. Trading will never be easier than you are as a person. If you're undisciplined in life, you'll be undisciplined in trading. If you avoid discomfort in daily situations, you'll avoid good trades that feel uncomfortable. If you're impatient waiting for coffee, you'll be impatient waiting for setups. The market doesn't reward the smartest strategies. It rewards the most disciplined people, the most patient people, the people who can sit with discomfort and make good decisions anyway. And those aren't trading skills. Those are life skills. I watched this play out in my own trading career in a way that was almost embarrassing once I saw it clearly. I had this pattern where I'd close winning trades way too early. The trade would move 10 pips in my favor and I'd close it, terrified it would reverse. Then I'd watch it run another 100 pips without me. This happened over and over. I thought it was a trading problem. Maybe I needed better profit targets. Maybe I needed to trail my stops differently. Maybe I needed to trust the setup more. But then I noticed something in my life. I was doing the same thing everywhere. I'd start a project and quit right when it was getting good because I was scared it wouldn't work out. I'd have a good conversation with someone and end it early because I didn't want to risk it going bad. I'd be enjoying a moment and cut it short because I was waiting for something to go wrong. I was so terrified of loss that I sabotaged my own wins. And not just in trading, in everything. Once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. My early exits weren't about profit targets. They were about my relationship with success. Some part of me didn't believe I deserved to win big. So I'd take small wins and run, grateful I got anything at all. And that belief, that deep internal conviction that I wasn't worthy of large success, showed up in every area of my life. It showed up in my career, my relationships, my health, everything. Trading just made it visible and expensive, so I had to fix it at the root. I started letting good things happen without sabotaging them. When I was enjoying something, I stayed in it instead of cutting it short. When a project was going well, I kept going instead of finding reasons to quit. When someone gave me a compliment, I said thank you instead of deflecting. I practiced receiving good things, and slowly I could let my winners run in trading because I'd changed my relationship with success in life. This is what I mean when I say you can't out-strategy your character. You can have the best entry system in the world. You can have perfect risk management rules written down. You can know exactly what to do. But if who you are as a person is broken in some way, if you have limiting beliefs or destructive patterns or trauma responses you haven't dealt with, they will show up in your execution. They will sabotage you. Not because you're weak or stupid, but because you're human. And humans bring their entire psychological framework to everything they do. The traders who make it aren't the ones with the best strategies. They're the ones who've done the internal work. They've confronted their ego. They've addressed their need for control. They've healed their relationship with failure. They've built discipline not just for trading, but as a way of life. And when they sit down to trade, they're not battling themselves anymore. They're just executing a plan. It's almost boring how simple it becomes once you're not fighting your own psychology every step of the way. But getting there requires something most people aren't willing to do. It requires brutal honesty with yourself. It requires admitting that you're the problem. And that's where most traders quit. Not because they can't learn a strategy. Not because they don't have the intelligence or the capital. They quit because they can't face the mirror. They can't confront the person staring back at them and admit that their impatience, their ego, their lack of discipline, their fear, their need to be right, all of it is destroying their trading. It's easier to blame the strategy. It's easier to think the answer is in some new indicator or some secret Discord group. It's easier to believe you just need more screen time or a better funded account, because all of those things are external. You can fix external things without changing who you are, but you can't fix trading without changing who you are. The mirror doesn't lie. I spent 2 years running from this truth. I switched strategies 17 times. I tried day trading, swing trading, scalping, position trading. I traded Forex, futures, stocks, crypto. I used price action, indicators, order flow, smart money concepts. I joined paid groups and took courses and read books and watched thousands of hours of YouTube videos. And I stayed stuck because I was trying to fix the wrong thing. I was trying to fix the reflection in the mirror instead of fixing the person standing in front of it. Then I spent 6 months working on myself, not my charts, myself. I identified my biggest trading pattern, revenge trading, and I found where it lived in my life. It was everywhere. Anytime someone proved me wrong, I'd argue. Anytime I made a mistake, I'd justify it. Anytime life didn't go my way, I'd force it back. I had to be right. I had to win. I had to control the outcome. And that showed up in trading as revenge. I'd take a loss and immediately jump back in, not because there was a setup, but because I needed to prove I wasn't wrong. So I worked on it in life first. When someone corrected me, I practiced saying, "You're right," without defending myself. While when I made a mistake at work, I owned it immediately without explanation. When plans fell through, I accepted it instead of trying to force a different outcome. It was excruciating at first. My ego hated every second of it. But slowly, something shifted. I became a person who could be wrong without it destroying me. I became a person who could lose without needing immediate revenge. And that change showed up in my trading automatically. I didn't have to create new rules about revenge trading. I didn't have to force myself to stop. It just stopped because I was no longer the person who revenge traded. The pattern in life was gone, so the pattern in trading disappeared with it. Same strategy, same markets, different person, different results. This is the framework. This is how you actually fix your trading, how you identify the pattern that's destroying you. Overtrading, revenge trading, holding losers, closing winners early, moving stops, whatever it is. You write it down. Then you ask yourself the most important question: where else in my life do I do this exact thing? And you find it. Because it's there. The same pattern exists outside of trading. It has to, because you're the same person. Then you fix it in life first. Not in trading. In life. If you overtrade because you can't sit with boredom, practice sitting in silence for 10 minutes a day. No phone, no music, no distraction. Just you and your thoughts. If you revenge trade because you can't handle being wrong, practice being wrong in conversations. Let people correct you. Admit mistakes openly. If you hold losers because you can't let go of sunk costs, I practice quitting things that aren't working. Walk away from dead projects. End relationships that are draining you. As you fix these patterns in life, they automatically fix in trading. Not because you're trying harder or following better rules, but because you're not the same person anymore. You've changed at the identity level, and trading is just a mirror. Change the person, the reflection changes too. But here's what nobody tells you about this process. It's uncomfortable, really uncomfortable. You're going to have to face parts of yourself you've been avoiding for years. You're going to have to admit things about your character that hurt to acknowledge. You're going to have to do things that feel wrong because your ego is screaming at you to stop. This isn't a fun process. It's not motivational. It's hard. Lonely work that happens mostly in silence when nobody's watching. And most people won't do it. They'll watch this video. They'll nod along. They'll think, yeah, that makes sense. Then they'll go right back to looking for the next strategy. They'll go right back to blaming the market. They'll go right back to making the same mistakes because actually changing themselves feels impossible. It feels like too much work. It feels easier to just keep searching for the external solution. But if you're still here, if you've made it this far, then maybe you're different. Maybe you're one of the few who's actually ready to look in the mirror. Maybe you're tired enough of failing that you're willing to do the uncomfortable work. Because here's what's on the other side of that work. Freedom. Not just in trading, in everything. Yeah, when you fix these patterns, when you confront your character and actually change, your entire life improves. Your relationships get better. Your career advances. Your health improves. Everything changes because you changed. Trading just happens to be the most expensive mirror you'll ever look into. Every mistake costs money. Every pattern you refuse to fix shows up in your P&L. But that cost is also what makes it the most effective mirror. You can ignore your impatience in other areas of life. You can ignore your lack of discipline. You can ignore your ego. But in trading, those things cost you real money. They hurt financially. And that pain is what finally makes you willing to look. So use it. Use the pain. Use the losses. Use every frustrating trading session as data about who you are. Not about what the market did, but about what you did. About what patterns you're running. About what needs to change. And then go fix it in life. Because trading will never get easier until you do. The market will keep reflecting your character back at you until you finally change what it's reflecting. You clicked this video because your trading account is bleeding and you're desperate for the fix. Maybe it's a supply and demand zone strategy this time. Maybe it's ICT concepts. Maybe it's someone's $5,000 course that promises the edge you've been missing. You were hunting for the thing outside of you that would finally stop the pain. But now you understand something that's going to make you uncomfortable. There is no external fix. Every loss you've taken, every rule you've broken, every revenge trade that ripped your face off, it all traced back to the same source. The market didn't do this to you. It just showed you what was already broken. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. We covered the mirror principle, how trading reveals character flaws you've been carrying everywhere else. We talked about why strategy hopping is just ego protection, a way to avoid admitting you're the problem. We explored the life-to-chart pipeline, how every trading mistake exists in your daily patterns first. We discussed taking full responsibility, how power follows the blame finger and victims can never grow. And we covered discipline as doing what you hate like you love it, building the character traits that actually make you profitable. The framework is simple. Identify your trading pattern. Find where it lives in your life. Fix it there first. The trading fixes itself because you've changed who you are. Not your strategy. You. Most traders will close this video and go right back to searching for external solutions. They'll keep blaming the market, keep switching strategies, keep making the same mistakes. Don't be most traders. Look in the mirror. Face what you see and have the courage to change it. That's how you actually become profitable. Not by finding a better setup, but by becoming a better person. I'll see you in the next one.